Welcome to the Readathon. This is Rebecca, and I am here with some very special guests for this episode. Who is sitting next to me right now?
Yeah, it's Kevin Flynn.
And who is right there in the yellow shirt?
Who are you asking?
You, my God.
I'm Toby Ball.
And who is there in the blue shirt?
It's Lara Bricka.
All right, so Kevin,
Yeah.
We did not have a verdict in the case today. I'm not going to bury the lead.
Okay, sure.
But that doesn't mean we don't have a little bit of drama to talk about anyway. The first thing that I want to talk about a little bit is a clip of video, a meal of food clip of video that I sent you this morning. Last night in the town of Canton, there was a select board meeting. And Lara and Toby, one of the key characters in this case, Chris Albert, the brother of the cop who was the homeowner outside of which John O'Keefe was struck, is actually a selectman in the town of Canton. He also owns a pizza shop.
Oh boy.
He's quite a character. And yesterday, a very concerned resident, it was a wild select board meeting. Turtle Boy went, lots of, Karen Reed people went. There was a plow guy involved in the case, but people are very angry in Canton. And yesterday, a very unhappy resident gave an interview to a local news crew about how she feels about what's going on in the town of Canton, and Chris in particular. I'm just going to play a clip of that right now.
This town is run by the McAlberts. That is who this town is run by. The people do not run this town. The select board does not run this town. The McAlberts run this town. And Chris Albert, the reason he has the behavior that he has is because there's no consequences, and he is allowed to run havoc and terrorize this town and sick the people after us. And that is a problem. This is domestic terrorism.
Domestic terrorism.
Yeah, it goes on, and she basically calls for the town to be put in receivership. Because of the
goodness.
Yes.
I love how she used, for those who didn't pick up on it, the term the McAlberts.
Yes.
Because it's the
McCabe's and the
Alberts. And so they've just made this portmanteau of them, and they are running the town. And maybe it's true. I don't know.
Did you note the shirt she's wearing?
It says, "In Lucky We Trust." It's a shamrock, and Lucky is the name of the plow driver,
who was a star witness in the case.
Oh,
yeah.
it's not Lucky the Leprechaun for the Celtics?
No.
No.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
Maybe that's where the shirts came from, but everyone's wearing it because the plow driver who testified in the case, who said there was no body in the front lawn all night when he drove by, his name was Lucky Loughran, and he's like this very simple, honest, sweet, hardworking guy, worked for the DPW, and who wasn't interviewed for a year and a half by the cops. And he's like the hero of the town now. So, Lara, is this what your select meetings are like in Exeter?
No, but I have seen meetings like that in Vermont. And there's legit, and like I know places where there's like little towns where there's like a family that runs the town. So that does ring kind of true to me when I hear that. But like I'm not immediately gonna be like, oh, that's not true, because like. You totally knew. I mean, I do run Exeter, but
that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not a domestic terrorist.
Well, I will say, when we talked about that brawl in Canton the other day, all the Alberts sitting outside the pizza shop, they did look like that shot from The Sopranos, where they're all sitting outside the shop, kind of, except kind of discount,
Just not the same tracksuits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is what happened in court today.
To the extent that things happened in court, because the jury's deliberating.
A couple of things did happen.
Okay.
The jury showed up. One of the jurors who was chosen to be an alternate, juror number 12, showed up, and all the reporters said that juror number 12 was crying in court this morning when she showed up.
When she turned up? She
was already crying. This is a juror that a bunch of reporters said was very engaged in the trial this whole time, seemed very engaged, especially with testimony of Massachusetts cops that seemed absurd, and was mouthing things like, what? Like during the trial, seemed very, very like taking earnest notes. Maybe was upset at being asked to be an alternate, not being able to deliberate. We don't know. But that juror was crying this morning. That juror,
at this moment, she's not an alternate. She's on the panel. She is an alternate. She's still an alternate.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So that happened. Another thing that happened this morning was there was a kerfuffle between defense attorney Alan Jackson and the judge, Cannoni, about the jury slips, the verdict slips the jury was given. The form?
Yeah.
So Karen Reed has 3 charges pending. The charges are second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol, and leaving the scene of personal injury and death. So obviously second degree is the main charge. His issue was that main charge had guilty or not guilty, and the other 2 charges only had a box that you could check guilty and no other box.
Okay.
And he said, how will they know how to say not guilty to these 2 other charges? And the judge was like, they just don't check it. And he was like, I've never seen anything like this before. And she was like, this is standard in the state of Massachusetts. Mr. Yannetti, her other defense attorney from Massachusetts, you've seen this before. And David Yannetti was like, no, I haven't. This is not standard. So basically, Karen apparently made a face, yes?
Well, my question is this slip something that came from the printers and there's 5 million other of them in a drawer, or this is something that she drew up for these 12 people?
This is something that was drawn up for the 12 people with these specific charges.
Oh, okay.
So what ended up happening was she ended up snapping at Karen for saying the face that she made.
Okay.
She's like, is something funny, Ms. Reed? Anyway, it was a whole thing.
Oh, okay.
This was a big kerfuffle. So later in the morning.
Sounds like Judge Cannon's court down in Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
So can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Which is, are those the other 2 things that she could be, that don't have the not guilty? Are those contingent upon the first one being found
No.
guilty?
No, they
Okay.
are lesser
Lesser
charges.
charges,
So she could be found not guilty of the first and only guilty of one of the lesser charges.
So the lesser charges are leaving the scene of an accident or fatality. And what's the other one?
The
Manslaughter, right?
lesser charges are manslaughter while operating under the influence of alcohol and leaving the scene of personal injury and death.
So the big
'Cause
thing
it
is
seems like that one, the last one, if she didn't actually, hit him with the car or whatever, that seems like kind of a moot point, right? Because he wouldn't have been lying around.
Right.
hit him
Also,
with a car. He didn't murder him either.
also
so,
there's a lot of evidence
Yeah.
that she left before anything happened that came out of
Right.
the trial. So,
So contemplate this. So what the prosecution is saying is that if it's second degree murder, that it's premeditation. I mean,
No,
that it's
no
not
premeditation.
manslaughter. That it's
there's no
There's
premeditation.
but there's
It's
intentionality
intentional
to
murder.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So basically, later in the
intentionality
morning,
to the death. Yeah. Okay.
Later in the morning, the jury had a question, and so basically, the judge agreed to give the jury instructions about the form. Right.
Okay.
Yannetti was like, "I've never seen this before," but later she agreed to amend the slip to add. Underneath the top one, not guilty to the top charge and also the lesser charges. So they could say at the top, not guilty to the top charge, but also not guilty to the lesser charges. But
Okay.
she would not add a not guilty option to the 2 lesser charges.
Okay.
I think she ended up looking at some other juror forms and realizing that was something that she had forgotten to put on this form. Because I did look at people have been posting other forms, and that's typically what it says. Third thing that happened, the jury had a question this morning. They wanted to see the state police search report detailing the search of the crime scene. That is the search emergency response team.
Okay.
The judge said, you have all the evidence in this case. You are not going to be getting any more evidence.
Oh.
Turns out there is no report from the state police from the search they executed at the scene.
What?
That's why they didn't get it.
It's not that it wasn't filed into evidence.
So that's a Brady violation.
No, there's just no report.
They just didn't do a report. That's fucking
It wasn't withheld.
sloppy.
It just doesn't exist.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go.
The whole investigation is super fucking sloppy. Laura, they were gathering up snow with blood in them in Solo cups and putting them in Stop and Shop bags. Look at Laura's face.
I thought maybe the Zoom froze, but no, she's just Laura's
What?
brain went on a glitch.
Laura, they used leaf blowers to blow away snow at the scene to find evidence at this.
You know, I never
fucking
get
insane.
cases like this as a defense investigator. I get, man.
So anyway,
So the last thing is that they punched out just before 4:00 as
Yeah.
planned because a juror had
there was a
some
juror
commitment,
who
yeah.
said they had a long-term planned commitment and had to leave by 4 today. Everyone was called back into the courtroom around 3:30, and the jury asked to leave for the day. That's where we're at. But those are the fireworks that happened in the Karen Reed case. Little bit interesting updates, and we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we'll have a verdict tomorrow. We will see. But
right.
clearly, there's no easy, quick verdict here. There might be a holdout. We don't know. There might be more than one holdout, or the jury could just be taking their time looking through everything. Or this could legitimately be a difficult decision for them to come to. Hard for me to believe, but you never know, right?
Right.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us for the Readathon. We'll be back with more tomorrow. Thanks, guys, for joining me.
Hey,
Thank
thank
you.
you for blowing my mind about that evidence collection.
partners in crime media.